It's the biggest game in program history. Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores will shock the Vols in Knoxville.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the industry. I'm your host, Corey Burton, and I'm bringing with me over a decade of experience in coaching and as a member of the national sports media. Now, on today's episode, of course, we're going to end things with giving you some additional SEC picks for rivalry week. Also, of course, I'm going to predict this game, the game happening in Knoxville. So we're going to get all sorts of picks and predictions and things towards the end of the show. I'm going to tell you why I think Vanderbilt could win this game and what they need to do. Vandy got its first domino in the transfer portal. It's a big piece, literally and figuratively. You're going to like this one, but we're going to start things off talking about how the impact of this game, what it means for Vanderbilt if they win. It's the biggest game in program history, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about that and talk about the significance of what's about to happen in Knoxville. So let's get right into it, shall we? Because, I think, again, I appreciate you guys for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Shout out to the everydayers in the Everydayers Club. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So, as I said multiple times this week on this episode, this is the biggest game in program history. I can't understate that at all. I can't overstate that enough. I can't say that enough. This is a chance for Vanderbilt to get to 10 wins for the first time ever. And this is an important one for the program because I think what it does is it sets in motion a lot of different things. Now, understandably, the playoff picture has really kind of slid away from Vanderbilt and really has just kind of lined up in a position where it's very likely that Vanderbilt is going to be left out, which, to me, and Clark Lea said this, national media members have said this, I've heard this in a lot of places. If there's an SEC team that goes 10-2, it'll be hard to leave them out. But at some point, someone's got to get left out. And, I think Vanderbilt, being Vanderbilt, that's going to be what's going to happen. I think they're going to be the odd man out because the help that they need, they're not going to get because of how the other games fall. But here's the thing. Get to 10 wins. Go ahead and make history there, right? Leave the committee with the decision to make, right? Do not do their job for them and just eliminate yourself by losing. Force them to make that decision because there's a lot of things that can happen between now and Selection Sunday. College football has a way of twisting and turning, and there's all sorts of things that can happen and could happen. And if you put yourself in a position to where you're able to harvest those results, then you need to be in that position. You need to be ready for if chaos happens, you can slide right into the playoff field and be in a really good position. So it's taking care of business at Tennessee. You just need to win that game. Focus on winning that game. Style points, none of that. Don't worry about any of that. I think Tennessee as a program, Neyland Stadium as a venue, and Tennessee football in Neyland Stadium as an event, I think all lend itself a lot of credibility in the committee's eyes. If you go in there as Vanderbilt and you win that game, the committee will see that very, very favorably. Now, how does it stack up against all the other factors that seem to be working against Vanderbilt? That remains to be seen. That is something that it's out of our hands. It's nothing that we can control. You put your name on the table. You see where it stands. Now, I think you're getting a really nice bowl game. should get a really nice bowl game. I don't know what'll happen. It's very unpredictable in what'll happen. I imagine if Vanderbilt will give the bowl committee a sense of the fact that they'll travel well, I think they can get themselves a really nice bowl game if they don't make it into the playoff field. So whatever the case is in that regard, you have to win this game. Get to 10 wins for the first time ever. All right. Get Diego Pavia to New York, because when you're looking at portal and you're looking at replacing Diego, you need to set yourself up for the best possible position to get a 5-star flip, to make a run at one of the top quarterbacks coming into the portal. If that's the case, whatever you need to do to set yourself up to get the best quarterback you can possibly get on this roster for next year, you need to do that. Do you feel like that quarterback lies on your roster now? That's also another decision you have to make. Do you have enough data points for that to make that decision? Do you bring in a guy, let it compete itself out and see where it lies? Because like the cream will rise to the top scenario. All of that, you're going to put yourself in a favorable position regardless of position in the transfer portal. Like you're going to be able to recruit linemen again, because if the linemen have a really nice game, they put themselves in a position to win the Joe Moore Award or be a finalist. If Vanderbilt's offensive line can be a finalist in the Joe Moore Award, hell, even win it. I think they can. I think they deserve it. They can put themselves in position to get high quality transfers. Defensive line, I think you're showing. I think the things that you're showing with rotations and guys having impact, like Josh Singh, Jalen Stone's had a really nice impact. Didn't think he was going to have much of an impact because of the injury and the recovery and things like that, but he's had a really nice season there. Glenn Seabrooks has been great as a freshman, so like the freshman guys can come in. Like there's all sorts of options, and Issa was supposed to be the main guy. And he, obviously he was out for the season. He hasn't been able to play. So other guys have been able to get a chance to play. So from a rotation standpoint, like you're going to be able to recruit good defensive linemen. Keanu Coote and Miles Capers have been really good on the edges. And then your linebacking room has been outstanding. And you've got some talent there behind Patterson and Longwell. And so it's just, and the secondary's had a really nice season. So I think you win this game, you get to 10. If you get to the playoffs, great. But you can recruit to the fact that, hey, we're on the cusp and we're going to continue to be there and we're going to be in the field very, very soon if you come play. NIL is going to increase, opportunities are going to increase, and this thing is going to keep rolling. But you got, I think it goes a long way in that if you take care of business against Tennessee this week. So that's the significance of this game. That's where it lies. Now, speaking of portal, Vanderbilt, first domino has fallen. I absolutely love this portal commit. I watched his highlights. Do yourself a favor. Go watch his highlights. They're attached to the 247 story. You can search his name and Huddle as well. But Maurice Veney, go do yourself a favor. Watch this dude's highlights, okay? This is kind of the summary of it, brief summary. I could do a whole evaluation piece on it on a later episode. I'm not going to do that on this particular one, but I do want to give him a little bit of shine. Maurice Veney, tight end, Morehouse College. That's a Division II school located in Atlanta, Georgia. And Maurice Veney, he started as an offensive lineman. He was recruited out of high school as an offensive lineman, went to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He lost 45 pounds in basic training, converted to a fullback, and then to tight end when he transferred from Army to Morehouse. And what I love about Veney is this. And, all of these skills are going to – he's kind of like the Emmanuel Adibi position. He's going to be like that fullback, inline blocking tight end that can catch. He's going to be kind of like a more fullback version of Cole Spence. So He's got a lot of athleticism compared to his size. He's sitting about 270 or so. He's got some great explosive. If you watch his film, he was running away from some defenders. He would catch it. There was one where he caught a flat route at about 3-4 yards and turned it up and almost took it to the house. It would have been a very impressive touchdown if he'd have finished it. But he can be viable. He can be a viable option in the passing game. He has the versatility to line up as a fullback. If you want to go like 22 personnel, if you want to go 13 personnel, like he can be that extra tight end where it's 13 personnel, but he lines up in the backfield, kind of that Gabe Fisher role. Or if they want to go 2 fullbacks, kind of like he can be that second guy. There's a lot of things he can do. He's a violent blocker, great hands, great feet, great athleticism. I think he can hold up well in the SEC in that role. Now, is he going to be a 50-something play guy? No, he's probably going to have a package of about 15 to 20 plays each game in certain packages. And if the game dictates it, maybe more, he'll have a role on special teams as well. But, this guy can really make an impact on the game because of his athleticism, because of what he can do with his explosiveness, his feet, his hands, and all that stuff. But I'll get more in detail with Maurice Veney. But he's the first portal commit. And this is going to be another one of those where people are like, who? And then you're going to watch him play. You're going to be like, wow, that's what people did with Trey Richardson. They were like, who? From where? And now they're like, this guy's amazing, right? So it's going to be a thing, man. Like there's some gems down there in D2. People don't know about it. If you can play, you can play. If you can ball, you can ball. And I think this guy can do just that. So what are the keys to this game? Vanderbilt has to have a lot of things go in Vanderbilt's favor. Vanderbilt's going to have to really intentionally go and get this game. How do they win? Why do they win? We're going to talk about that next. Talk about winning, though. You can really win the holiday season right here because it's when you have the perfect gift, you're in great shape. And Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And if you want to send some handcrafted perfection right to my door, feel free. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge, man. And you know what? I've gotten Omaha Steaks every year for Christmas. And they have great gift packages where you can buy, 4 cuts of steak, hamburgers, chicken, and like an apple turnover dessert. Like there's all sorts of variety there. And man, you can get all sorts of things with sides and main courses and desserts, all of that. And it's one of those gifts that truly fits anyone, man. And it is, they send this seasoning too. The seasoning packets are really, really good. And the cuts are top quality, great to grill. It just, honestly, it's a gift that brings people together and you don't even need to guess any one size, man. You just say, hey, do you like it medium rare for me. And that's all you need to do, man. So save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Thanks for making Locked On number one. We appreciate you guys. It's all because of you guys, y'all out there. So I really appreciate it, and everyone at the Locked On. When I say we, I'm talking about the whole network. We appreciate you. So thanks for making this journey what it is. So what does Vanderbilt have to do? It's the biggest game in program history. We've decided that. There's implications on the line. We talked about the first big domino from the transfer portal. Like, he's going to be a big factor next year, of course. But what does Vanderbilt have to do on Saturday at 2:30, 3:30 in Knoxville? What do they have to do to win this game? Well, here we go. Offensively, man, honestly, it's real simple offensively. Keep doing what you're doing, essentially. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to, I don't want to say get off of your explosive plays and go back to your real identity, but I think you're going to have to tip the scales back on the control end of the spectrum a little bit. I think to gain an advantage. I think if you find balance and establish a run, I think it'll help slow down Tennessee's offense because they can't score if they're not on the field. Of course, you got to hit on some explosive plays. I don't think you need to change a whole lot of what you're doing. I think offensively, I just think you need to find a little bit in the run game. I think you just need to break 100 in the run game and keep hitting those pass plays that you've been hitting for the last 3 games. Chunk plays, driving the ball down the field. Maybe instead of a 14-play drive, you get a 9-play drive, but that takes an almost equal amount of time. And you're chunk playing it down the field, and I think that can also kill morale a little bit if you're just ripping off 12 yards of play, but you're doing it methodically. And that's kind of where, like, a methodically explosive team, and I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, and it sounds like it shouldn't make sense, but you're doing it. Your explosive plays are not 50, 60 yards at a time, which I would love to hit a few of those. I'd love to hit another 70-yard bomb to Trey Richardson. That would be nice, but I don't think it's needed. I think if you can go 15 to 20, probably 2 times a drive, I think you're going to be good enough to be able to control the ball enough and convert those red zone trips into 6 and not 3, or more 6s than 3s. You're going to win this game because it's going to be hard for Tennessee to really get in a rhythm if you're controlling the time of possession. So, but I mean, if you go super explosive and you're scoring, 45 points in 3 quarters, then hell, there you go. Go with it. But I think the best route right now is to slow down a bit, not too much, but slow down a bit, find some rhythm, find some balance, slow Tennessee down, get them out of rhythm just by keeping them off the field. Defensively, I think what worked in their 3 losses, and talking to Eric and talking to Mike, getting pressure on Aguilar and speeding up his decision-making process, because part of the beauty of RPO football is having the opportunity to really get the defense to commit with a good, I don't want to call it a play fake, but a good mesh, a good slow mesh or deliberate mesh, right? And good RPO quarterbacks know exactly when to pull the ball, and they have quick releases and they can get rid of it. Now, where Joey Aguilar can get in trouble, and where he has gotten in trouble more so lately than before in the beginning of the season, is that I think teams have kind of figured out, hey, we're going to just bum rush the mesh. We're going to put a lot of pressure on you to make that decision, and we're gonna do so in a manner to where you're not sure if you're coming for the quarterback or you're coming for the running back. You're just going to attack the football, and I think some of that indecision can lead to Joey Aguilar pulling it, sailing it into a turnover. It could lead to you tackling the mesh point and punching that ball loose and scooping and scoring. Like, you can do some things to affect his decision making. Like there's times where, and this is what gets quarterbacks in trouble in an RPO heavy scheme, is that indecisiveness of, oh crap, he's coming, do I pull it? Oh, and then just all of a sudden you spray one, you throw one in the dirt, you throw one over to a safety, whatever the case may be. If you can speed things up and create some of that urgency, that can lead to some indecisiveness. That can lead to some mistakes. Also make them drive, clamp down in the red zone, all that good stuff. So if you can make them drive, they're not a team that likes to drive. They're a team that wants to score in 8 plays or less. That's just how they've been built ever since Josh Heupel took over Tennessee. They're doing it in a slightly different fashion with Joey Aguilar than they did with Hendon Hooker. And Joe Milton he just would throw a laser beam and it didn't matter. He was just going to throw laser beams, and that's just what it was going to be. There wasn't really much scheme-wise there, and Nico was kind of a little bit of both, but Nico was still I think he was still very raw as a quarterback, and it just never fully clicked. But Tennessee could run the hell out of the ball, and that's kind of what their calling card. They could run, and their defense was stellar, so they got to the playoffs based on that. And then now enter Joey Aguilar, who's been very, very good at the RPO offense. So Josh Heupel's kind of shifted that and blended that into his overall philosophy, which score in 8 plays or less, be explosive, and use that as a morale destroyer. So in doing so, if you can clamp down and make them drive, I think that puts a little bit of doubt. I think that gets them out of rhythm. I think they start kind of pressing. I think Heupel can get a little impatient at times. And I think a lot of his mistakes in play call is when he gets antsy. When teams are making him drive, he gets antsy. He's like, I need to end this drive now. And a mistake happens. Things like that. Clamp down in the red zone, which Vanderbilt is very, very good at. As far as you get in the red zone, you're going to most likely come away with 3. They've done a really good job of that all season long. If a team makes it into the red zone, they're able to keep them out of the end zone and force them into a field goal attempt or conversion. So when you look at how this game is going to go, it's going to be those explosive plays. It's going to be, who hits more of those big time explosive plays, who gets the chunk yardage, who can dictate the flow of the game. If Tennessee can turn it into a track meet, although Vanderbilt has won in that capacity, they're not necessarily built for that. So I don't know how they would, if it was a 4 track meet, how Vanderbilt would actually respond. They're a resilient bunch, but how would they fully respond to that? Of course, with that. So that'll be interesting there. Just chop down space, make them drive, clamp down, all that good stuff. So lastly, this most important game in program history. I said that you're going to have to manage the emotions of that situation and an extremely hostile crowd at Neyland Stadium. And you're going to have to, Clark Lea said this in his press conference. It's our job. He's talking about the team. It's our job to keep the crowd out of it. And if you can take the crowd out of it, which is a tough thing to do because they hate you, this is one of those games where the fans are not going to get bored. It's going to take a lot to take them out of the game. But if you can successfully do that, then your chances go way up. So those are the keys there. Take the crowd out of it early. Keep them out of it. Don't let them in. If you get the crowd out of it, do not let them back in under any circumstances. And it's just going to come down to, very simply, can Vanderbilt hit the explosive plays and prevent Tennessee from hitting theirs? Can Vanderbilt hit more of theirs versus Tennessee? That's going to be the key to the game. So I'm going to make a prediction and also send you off with a few additional SEC picks. Going to do that next. Yeah, so FanDuel is the place to go to play these picks, right? The NBA is back, of course, but there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And if you choose my games, which you can or not, I don't know. I don't know what my overall record is. I would have to kind of just look and do that. I might do a little post-season evaluation of all my FanDuel picks. But I'm gonna tell you. So stay tuned. Towards the end of the show, I'm going to give you some FanDuel picks here, so just stick around for those. But right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, wrapping up here, Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us part of your day. Thanks for making us an everyday listen for you. Thank you for being an everydayer and joining the Everydayers Club. Now, at Locked On Vandy on social media if you want to follow along. But here, I'm going to give you some predictions now. It's that time. I'm going to give you a prediction. I'm going to give you some other picks from around the league if you want to, take it or leave it, whatever you want to do with that. But Vanderbilt comes into Neyland Stadium 3.5 point underdogs, or 2.5 point underdogs, which really means it's a toss-up. If it's under 3.5. It's a toss-up because typically the home team gets 3 points. So what does that really mean? What it really means is this. Vanderbilt's pretty good, but they couldn't pick against the environment. And I think, honestly, Vanderbilt, it's been a mixed bag of results in these hostile road environments, right? And it's been a scenario where they just haven't, in those atmospheres, put a complete game together. At Williams-Brice, they did. And Williams-Brice is one of the most hostile places in the SEC. I don't care what you say. Everyone I talk to says Williams-Brice Stadium is a cauldron, okay? And Vanderbilt went in there and won. Handily. And they took the crowd right out of it. Now, again, your quarterback goes down. It takes your chances. With a backup quarterback, it takes your chances way down. I get that. But for that environment at that time and where Vandy was, still trying to prove that Vandy was not this Vandy. That Vandy was still trying to prove something. That South Carolina team wasn't terrible yet. I think that was the start of it, but they weren't terrible yet. And so that was one of those wins. Now, against Alabama, they started really well, but they couldn't finish. And I don't know that it was necessarily the environment. I just think Diego Pavia got way ahead of himself and tried to play hero ball and actually kind of cost Vanderbilt that win because they were driving to win. Alabama had their hands full for a lot of that game, but I think Diego Pavia, he put them in a bad position and essentially lost the game. Just call it what it is. Texas. The team didn't show up till halftime, and then they started playing, and so it's hard to know what the environment actually did. But here's the thing: there's a lot more on the table now with this game than there was at any other point this season, because it's right there. It's the last one. It's your rival. Clark Lea's 0-4, so you can break that. First time in program history to win 10. You can do that. Diego Pavia can see the Statue of Liberty. He can see New York. And there's a lot of things. The College Football Playoff Committee, the table's right there. You just gotta cross one more walkway to place your resume on the table. Whether it gets selected or not is out of the control. But you're just right there. It's like you're reaching distance, like you're reaching out to place your resume. Is it going to get smacked out of your hand, or are you going to make it to the table? Right? So all of those factors lead me to believe that for some reason, I just think Vanderbilt's going to get it done. I think Diego Pavia is going to have a really nice game. I think he's the better quarterback in this matchup. And I just think Vanderbilt, just as an operation, I think is just more even-keeled. I feel like they've been more consistent than Tennessee. Tennessee's been with their performances. It just seems, and Josh Heupel's teams do this by nature. And I know they don't lose a lot at home. They've already lost 2 home games this year. So what do you it's just, I think if both teams are sitting at 3 losses, I might be thinking a little differently about this game. But, you've got Vanderbilt on the cusp of doing something extremely special. And this group is just, you can't count them out. It's hard to count them out. And you couldn't even really count them out against Texas, even though they got slaughtered for 3 quarters, fought all the way back in the 4th, but just ran out of time. So I think Vanderbilt's going to get it done. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be like 45-42. It's going to be take the over. It's going to be a very high-scoring game, but I think Vanderbilt can get it done. They've shown that they can score with people, but they've got to do it in their own way, and they've got to be able to take the game over in their own way, and I think they do. So give me Vandy 45-42. Bookmark that. All right. Now here's some other games for you for the road as we get out of here. Ole Miss -7.5. They're just better. Despite all the Lane drama, they're just better. Lane Kiffin, indecisiveness. I just think it's not going to matter. I think Trinidad's going to have a really good game. I think Kewan Lacey's going to have a really good game. It's not going to matter. All right, A&M, I think for a lot of the same reasons that Vanderbilt's going to win. There's just a lot there. And it's a chance to exercise a lot of their playoff demons and a lot of their championship demons. They're going to they see that hardware. They see Atlanta up ahead. It's the next exit. Atlanta's the next exit. So are they going to get there, or are they going to get stuck in traffic and run off the road and all that stuff? I think they get it done at Texas. And then Auburn, that's going to be interesting. At the very least, they're going to cover. But Lord have mercy if they win. That would help Vandy. I don't know how much, but that would help Vandy. So that being said, if you're traveling to Knoxville, be safe, enjoy the game. Let's come back with a win. But until next time, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you ate just like I did. And I hope to see you back here. It's a 2:30 game, so most of the time with 2:30 games, I typically come on 8:30-ish. I'll announce a time specifically, but win or lose, I'll be on sometime in the early 8 o'clock hour to react to it. That's typically what I do for the afternoon games, is I just wait until about 8 to do my live show. So I'll be at you then. But until then, until the game, I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. Make sure you come back with a win. Cheer hard, all that good stuff. Anchor down. Peace.